So regardless of the kind of business you're running, you're probably going to need to build custom pages. And so that's what this video is for. In this video, I'm going to show you the basics of crafting simple pages for your website. So first, we want to navigate to our website. And to do that, we go up to the top here and click on View Your Website. That takes us directly to the page builder. And you'll notice that there are two sections to the page builder. We have this control bar on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side is the page editor itself, where we add all of our content, our images, our text, everything. But first, let's get started simply and add a template. You'll see it says Choose Page Template. So let's just click that button to begin. And that brings you to our library of templates. We have gorgeous templates, loads of them. And I guess because I'm feeling a little bit like a coffee, I'm going to choose this coffee template. And then I'm just going to click Apply to Current Page. And that brings up this pop-up, this confirmation pop-up to replace content and replace style. So what does that mean? So replacing the content is pretty much replacing the images, the text, all of the actual content on the web page. So if you hover over that, it says replace text, images, and other content. That's what we want to do. So we're going to just add that. And then we have replace style. So this says replace default style. What does that mean? It means that we're going to change the color, the typography. We're going to apply the color and typography and all of those aesthetic things from the template onto this page. So if you don't want to replace your default style, if you've put lots of effort into the way your default style looks, you're not going to click this. But I've not done that, so I'm going to click yes, and I want to replace my default style. And then I'm going to click apply. And then that applies the entire template to our website. So how would you go about building something like this? Well, let me show you the different elements of the page. So first, I'm just going to right-click and click on Add and add a new block. And then I'm just going to add an empty block. And that adds a block below this main block. So blocks are what make up the different sections of your web page. So this is a block, this is a block, this is a block, and so on. And within our block, you can see that it automatically adds these two columns. And these columns are contained within a row, which is the container of the columns and the content within the columns. So the hierarchy of the structure is essentially block, row, columns, and then content. And pretty much in the same way as I just added the block, I can add new rows and new columns to this block as well. And I can just right-click, add a row, and then I can choose a layout of how many columns I want in that row. So I'm going to go extreme, choose 5. And now if I want to add content, I can just click add in that column, and I can add a heading, or I can add an image, or I can add something else. And if I don't know where to find that thing that I'm looking for, I can always use the search bar at the top and then type in what I'm looking for. Maybe I'm looking for my product catalog, and I can add that. I don't have any products right now. I'm just going to move that over there to the left-hand side. I'll tell you about that just now. I don't have any products right now, but that is where the product catalog would show up if I had put it there. Another cool little feature is that we can customize the size of our columns by simply clicking and dragging in the middle of them. And I can do that to all of the columns. I can just click and drag and resize everything as I want to. I can also use that same control panel when I right-click, so I can change the layout of these columns. I can clone the column if I want and add more. I can do the same with this image. I can clone that image. I can also move that image and it floats up there, and then I can drag and drop it where I want it to be. And I can also delete things as I wish. And that's pretty much the same for every element on the page, but it is a little bit different when you come to your blocks. So if I choose my block settings, you can see that I've got more advanced features here, but I do go into those in more detail in a dedicated playlist for the page builder. So I'm not touching on those right now. And if you want to know how to access those settings for the different elements, specifically the block, the row, and the column, you can also just click on the 3 dots over there. So let's talk about settings. So this is already open, and I've put it over here to the right-hand side. I don't like it there, so I'm going to unpin it. And I could leave it around to float like this, but I prefer it over here on the left-hand side. You can put it wherever you feel most comfortable using it. And so this brings up the settings for the different elements on the page. So right now it's got our block settings, but if I click on the product catalog, it brings up the product catalog settings. If I click on the image, it brings up the image settings. And you'll notice with especially the content that it has 2 different sets of settings, basic and advanced. So basic settings are the settings that apply specifically to that item. So these are our image settings that we can change. And advanced settings are things like our spacing, our sizes, our borders, our backgrounds, things like that. And these advanced settings apply to pretty much every single element in the page builder. So the advanced settings really don't change much from element to element. It's the basic settings that do. So now that I'm really happy with my design, I've created a true work of art over here, I'm going to go ahead and publish my page. And it's going to ask me if I'm sure, and I'm going to say, yes, I'm sure. I want everyone to see this work of art. And then this page is visible to anyone who visits my website. But let's say I want to change things up a little bit more. I really like my piece of art over here, but I'm not so thrilled with the way this looks, so I'm going to delete a couple things. I'm actually just going to delete this entire block. And the food menu can stay, but I don't want this piece of text, so I'm going to delete that as well. And I'm actually just going to delete this column as well. Now I'm going to go ahead and publish that again. What a beautiful website we've created. So now I'm going to show you a pretty cool feature, and that is our history. So clicking on the history, here is where I can undo things or redo things as I desire. You can also just press Ctrl-Z, like you would in a Word document if you want to undo a mistake. But then we can click on our history, and our history shows us our previous published pages. So if I scroll back up and I want to view this, then you'll see that it brings back that previously published page. That applies to our styles as well, so I can restore it to the previous style that was applied to this page. I'm going to keep the style the same for now, but I'm going to restore to that beautiful old page of mine. It's going to ask me if I'm sure. I'm going to say yes, and then it brings that back. So I'm going to close that now, and I think I'm going to delete this block and just publish it again. All right, then I'm going to show you the other one. So we have our preview mode. So if you click on preview, this now shows you what the website will look like to a visitor to your page. So you're not able to edit it from here, but you are able to interact with it as a user would. You can even navigate around to different parts of your website. I'm going to disable preview mode. And then the next thing we have is devices. So this allows you to edit and customize your website for different devices. So you can see what it looks like on a tablet or a cell phone. And you can go in and actually change the way you want this to look. Again, more detail in a dedicated playlist. I'm going to go back to the desktop. Then we have our global settings, which is our logos and our favicons. Then you have pop-ups, again, more detail in the dedicated playlist. Then you have our page management. This is where we can add, delete, and rearrange pages. I'm not going to do that right now. And then, of course, we have our templates. This is what we used at the very beginning of the video. And then we have our styles. So this is where we can change the global style and aesthetics of the page. So we can change our color scheme. So if we don't want it to be brown and we want it to be purple, then that will go ahead and change all of those key colors to purple. And we can also change our typography. So if you don't want this font family, then you can change it for the different types of fonts that we have on the page. And then lastly, we have our add button, which does exactly what right-clicking and pressing add would do. You can add anything to your page by just clicking that add button as well. So that is a basic rundown of how to use the page builder. My advice to you is to just go ahead and play around with it. Create something beautiful, create something hideous. Just go play around, see what everything does, see how to build your own page, and then maybe go ahead and apply a template and try and customize that to your business. The best way to learn how to use this and to get really comfortable with it is to just play around with it and see what everything does.